I was trying to pick a way to play it. If you're creating a character, you have to create a character.
An ordinary day was altered by a single phone call, setting the stage for Rue McClanahan's adventure on The Golden Girls. The call came from her ICM representative, who was overjoyed about a fresh opportunity. An NBC screenplay was on its way to her house, and its arrival would signal a turning point in her career. The screenplay was handed to Rue by the messenger in an unassuming package, and the title, The Golden Girls, immediately piqued her interest. The pages Rue clutched may hold the key to incredible fame and rich chances, and at that very moment a wave of excitement washed over her. Rue jumped headfirst into the writing and fell head over heels for Blanche's character. She hurriedly phoned her agency and expressed her wish to audition for Blanche, saying, "Girls, look at that man over there. He's undressing me with his eyes." Nevertheless, Rue was advised by her agency to reconsider her position as Rose, as Betty White was probably going to be cast in it. Rue was adamant about becoming a part of this potential performance, even if she had her doubts about being Rose. The director, Jay Sandrich, gave Rue an unusual task to do at the audition. She was unprepared, but he insisted she read for Blanche nonetheless. Sandrich was obviously delighted with Rue's spontaneous performance, which she delivered with grace and flexibility. Now that this had happened, the show's creator, Susan Harris, called Rue to beg for another favor. B. Arthur, who was hesitant to join the ensemble as Dorothy Beasley, required Rue to convince her to take part. B. was apprehensive about the project because she thought it would be a carbon copy of her earlier parts. Still, Rue reassured her that the character's dynamics would be different from what she had experienced before. The role that B. played proved pivotal. Estelle Getty, who had landed the role of Sophia after an outstanding stage performance, rounded out the group, adding a fresh dynamic with her quick wit and small size. "We won't be doing anything, Blanche. It took me a whole month to find this dress. You'll just have to swallow your pride," Estelle playfully contrasted with B's towering stature. Innumerable actresses from all across Los Angeles and New York City had their names considered for parts in The Golden Girls. Rue, Betty, B, and Estelle were the ideal candidates because they had the ideal combination of charisma and skill, according to the creators. Their remarkable audition in front of 4 NBC executives proved that they were a wonderful fit, and the executives were united in their praise for the performers. Elaine Stritch was in the running for a part as well, which is interesting. She had a strong reputation for her command of the stage, but she almost hurt her prospects by using profanity in her audition play, something the producers strongly advised against. They wished the characters would stay faithful to their original intent, unaltered by the individual flair of the actors. It became clear as the program progressed that the actresses weren't really playing the part. The disparities between Blanche and Rue were a common punchline for Rue's jokes. The actress said, "Oh, I wasn't paying attention. I was fantasizing about what Tom Brokaw looks like naked," referring to the exaggeratedly energetic and flamboyant personality attributes of her role. Blanche was the group's intellectual center. She provided perspective to Rose, who was generally idealistic and innocent. Actors discovered career-defining parts in The Golden Girls and also helped establish a hit series that fans adored for its real camaraderie among its members, as well as its comedy and kindness. Despite early concerns about typecasting, the casting turned out to be a fortunate break that brought out the best in each actress and cemented the show's status as a television classic. At the age of 76, beloved NBC television family member Rue McClanahan took her last breath. Rue was adored by Americans for her charisma, humor, and infectious energy. She was known as their favorite darling. At the age of 51, she became famous after appearing in the popular TV series The Golden Girls as a lead role. Her depiction of a flirtatious, beautiful, and constantly searching for love made her a fan favorite, and the part catapulted her to stardom. "Dr. Newman is a guest in our home. If I'm self-conscious, he'll be ill at ease. I can't allow that to happen. It would be too un-Southern," Rue's protagonist often said. Rue had a positive attitude and was successful, but she had serious health problems and almost died several times. Her problems were seen by those close to her, who saw her disturbed and in agony, which often brought her to the hospital. For a while there, it appeared like she would not make it through her health fights alive. Although her good fortune did not last forever, she managed to triumph over these problems on several occasions. Rue McClanahan passed away at New York Presbyterian Hospital on June 3, 2010. Tragically, a 76-year-old former NBC television family member has gone away. A stroke, usually caused by a blood clot in the brain, was listed as the reason of her death. Curiously, Rue was prescribed warfarin, a powerful medicine that prevents blood clots, when she had her stroke. This fact raises doubts about the circumstances surrounding her unexpected death. Rue went to the B. Arthur Memorial at the Majestic Theater in New York City a few months before she passed away. The invitation to speak came from Rue, who was B's close friend and co-worker from Martha and the Golden Girls. There were no indications of her advanced age or health problems, as she captivated the crowd with her amusing stories, her infectious energy shining through. Morrow Wilson, Rue's sixth husband, and the man she had been happily married to for the longest time, was also a part of her happy existence. Her health was always a worry for Rue, even though she seemed quite well while she was in the public eye. Strokes are more common in those over 65, but her busy lifestyle put her at a lower risk. It was already difficult to make sense of her unexpected death, given the striking contrast between her public vigor and her personal health issues. As the firstborn in her family, Rue came into this world in 1934 in Hilton, Oklahoma. She rose to prominence among her contemporaries after escaping humble beginnings and relocating to Ardmore, Oklahoma. Their son Mark was born inside a troubled marriage, and her first marriage to actor Tom Bile ended not long after. She went through a lot of emotional turmoil as a result of the breakdown of her marriage and the demands of parenting. Rue persisted in her acting career pursuits in spite of these obstacles. In her last days, Rue McClanahan seemed active and full of life on the outside, but her health problems were a cloud over her beautiful face. Notably, 2 years before she passed away, at the age of 74, Rue had knee surgery, a routine but risky treatment because of the extended periods of immobility required for rehabilitation, which increased the risk of blood clots. Rue's knee issues, which she had since her acting career began, made these dangers much worse. At 72 years of age, Rue had a part in the 2005 Broadway musical Wicked, which took place on a rack stage. She was already putting extra strain on her knees due to the sloped platform she was performing on. Her dedication to performance was fundamental to who she was, but her body surely suffered as a result of the strenuous nature of her profession. Not only did Rue endure physical hardships, but she also battled serious mental health issues. Months before she passed away, Rue was a stand-up comic who, to make light of her physical limitations, engaged in what she joked about as sit-down comedy. But underneath her charming public image, Rue struggled with acute anxiety. Her father's absence during Wintu and her husband's desertion just after their baby was born only served to heighten this fear, which had been a persistent companion throughout her infancy. Panic episodes, which Rue had from a young age and became more severe with time, were a manifestation of her anxiousness. These assaults would hit hard around sunset and continue far into the night, reflecting her irrational anxieties of being alone. Her passion for animals provided her with some solace, even if these episodes were becoming worse with time. Rue was devoted to her pets, and their company probably helped alleviate some of her anxieties. Hi, I'm Rue McClanahan, and I'm excited about having the opportunity to host this video about the care and loving of dogs. Medications like lorazepam, which helped alleviate her symptoms by relaxing her nervous system, were prescribed to her since her illness necessitated medical intervention. She needed this medicine to manage her severe anxiety attacks, which were putting her at danger of a stroke due to their potential to elevate her blood pressure. Another recurring theme in Rue's memoirs is the unexplained agony that she lived with for a significant portion of her life. This chronic pain that she has written about but never had a proper diagnosis further complicates her medical history. Another complex component of her health remains the mystery of where this discomfort is coming from. The life of Rue McClanahan, a lady who deftly handled the demands of Hollywood, is characterized by extreme highs and devastating lows, revealing her deep strength and fragility. Her private fights for physical and mental wellness are brought to light by her experiences with these issues. I believe Rue enjoyed playing the role of Blanche very well. There's nothing worse than, and there's also nothing stronger than, I think in reality she was a shy little girl. The fearlessness and will that defined Rue's illustrious career also served her well as she confronted the obstacles she encountered. Rue McClanahan revealed the Golden Girls' Blanche, Rose, Sophia, and Dorothy identities, while offering perceptive observations on the striking disparities between the actresses' actual personalities and the ones they exhibited on the adored program. In a light-hearted way, she stressed that they were all quite different from their on-screen selves. For instance, in real life, Rue was far more reserved and realistic than her on-screen character, Blanche Devereaux, a passionate and daring Southern belle. Rue often made light of the contrasting nature of the two, noting that Blanche's alluring and flamboyant qualities were only comical additions for the sake of amusement. After hearing, "We've also found out that she has a crush on Rose," Blanche returns to the room and asks, "Rose, but what's wrong with me?" Whether asked in an interview whether she shared Blanche's wild love adventures, Rue would jokingly deny the accusation. Instead, than trying to be realistic representations of actual people, she utilized her incisive humor to highlight how the characters were created to attract viewers with dramatic flair. The show's dramatic flair, which explored themes of independence, companionship, and aging via a combination of comedy and exaggerated reality, was a major selling point. The innocent and kind Rose Nyland that Betty White portrayed was also quite different from who she really was. Betty, who played the often naive Rose on TV, was really very bright and hilarious off-screen. Her character's inability to grasp commonplace events stood in sharp contrast to her real-life acumen and wit. Despite her own complexity, Betty's acting chops shone through as she imbued Rose with real warmth and comic innocence. Feisty and notoriously sharp-tongued Sophia Petrillo, portrayed by Estelle Getty, was renowned for her strong will and biting comments. In real life, however, Estelle was far more subdued and kind than Sophia. She often voiced her desire for her character to embody her Jewish ancestry, reasoning that doing so would help her role seem more true to who she is. In real life, Estelle was far friendlier and kinder than her role, while having impeccable comic timing and a gift for dropping jaw-dropping bombs. B. Arthur did share certain features with Dorothy Z. Bornak, the role she played, including her acerbic wit and no-nonsense attitude. On the other hand, Dorothy's depicted difficulties and misery stood in stark contrast to B's individual achievement and happiness. B brought subtlety and depth to Dorothy's character thanks to her off-screen presence, which was complemented by a comprehensive grasp of human behavior and humor. "I didn't know what rotten was till I saw BL, for heaven's sake. She's just this, is she? She is so deliciously rotten, and anything that moves is her target." In contrast to the humorous feuds and family fighting that their characters often participated in, the actress's relationship off-screen was one of professional friendliness and mutual respect. The roles were liked by many, but they were different from the actresses who portrayed them, thanks to the on-screen alchemy that came from their off-screen relationship. Blanche was shaped by the individual talents of each actor who played her. After some early conflicts and artistic progress, Rue McClanahan provided an interesting peek into how Blanche Devereaux's accent on the Golden Girls was created. Unlike the famous Blanche DuBois of A Streetcar Named Desire, who was born and raised in Atlanta, the original screenplay had Blanche as a more Southerner. Keeping this in mind, Rue's interpretation of the character benefited by the use of a Southern accent. But filmmaker Jay Sandrich had other plans for the pilot. Instead of her typical Southern accent, he wanted Rue to mimic her native Oklahoma accent, Because Blanche's character as a Georgian belle hinged on her command of the Southern dialect, Rue was surprised by this order. Rue gave in to Sandrich's request, albeit her Southern accent was a little less harsh than she had hoped. Striking a balance between one's own interpretation and the director's vision is a typical difficulty that this compromise brought to light for performers. A fresh set of eyes were brought in by a change of directors when the program was taken up after the pilot. Initially, Rue was confused because she believed the directive to minimize the Southern accent still remained in place, but Paul Bogart, the new series director, was amenable to Rue's original idea of a strong Southern accent, which was in line with the show's producers, whom Rue affectionately called Tall and Pony. The filmmakers wanted her to go with her gut and give Blanche a genuine Southern accent, which she did after some clarification. Inspired by her Aunt Pearl, who was a cousin of Rue's mother's, Rue was eager to give her character more Southern characteristics. Aunt Pearl had created a distinctive accent that combined parts of English poshness with Southern charm, in an effort to separate herself from her origins in Southern Oklahoma. The rest of the family thought Aunt Pearl's accent was strange and fake, but Rue thought it was great for Blanche's glamorized Southern belle character. In her pursuit of a Blanche-specific accent, Rue opted to modify Aunt Pearl's pronunciation, rather than imitate it word for word. She had this concept of a uniquely Southern accent that was extravagant, dramatic, and full of charisma, meant to mesmerize and delight. The intricate interaction between an actor's creative contribution and the collaborative nature of television production is seen here in the creative process of producing Blanche's accent, even if Rue herself found amusement in its absurdity. It exemplifies how a scripted character may grow into a cinematic legend with the help of creative minds in the film industry. Rue's commitment to developing Blanche's character exemplifies the arts of acting by demonstrating how an actor's life experiences, criticism from directors, and willingness to take creative risks all come together to make a fictitious character believable.